What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Alright guys, so we are basically going to continue our coverage over the Reign of X era of X-Men comics, and we actually pick up with New Mutants number 14. And I really like this book. Well, really, I like the opening pages of this book because we actually get ready for the return of a certain character that has not been seen for a short period of time of X-Men comics. And you'll see what I mean as we actually go through this book. But of course, this is also giving us an update on what is going to happen with the New Mutants after X of Swords, because we have not seen the New Mutants since X of Swords. And so now we kind of get an update on what is going on with those characters, but also setting up return for a certain character who I really like, and I hope he does come back as I read through the Reign of X books. Now, that is the moment we actually jump over into the 16th century of Egypt. Now, there is a good reason why, and that reason is because we actually pick up with a merchant. Now, this merchant is not important. Who's actually is important is his son, because you have the merchant tell us that he had a son, but after having his son, it was just him and his son. They had nobody else left in their family. And that was kind of huge. Now, of course, his son actually did love him. His son wanted to become him. And so one day there was a thief, and his thief actually stole an item from somebody else. And the merchant's son felt like he had the right to stop that thief, which he did. But when he stopped the thief, he used his mutant ability. Now that right there is very huge. And let me explain, because right after the merchant's son had used his mutant ability to stop that thief, of course his dad was proud of him, but his dad died. Now, how his dad died, who cares? Because right after he died, that is the moment the merchant's son actually met the Shadow King. Now, this is huge. But before I explain who the Shadow King actually is, let me say one more thing. The kid is actually a character known as, and I know I am going to mispronounce this name, but he is basically Amal Farouk. Amal Farouk, and I'm pretty sure I mispronounced that name, and I always had a hard time saying his name, but please forgive me. But Amal is actually the host for the Shadow King, because the Shadow King is a multiversal character, meaning that he has different hosts across the multiverse. But for the main Marvel universe, Amal is his host. Now, when it comes to the Shadow King is kind of like the bad thoughts in the human race coming to life. Like the dark side to every single human across the universe or the multiverse coming to life. And that is what the Shadow King is. And so the Shadow King has hosts in every single universe in the multiverse. And so right now, this is Marvel saying he is coming back. And when he does, it could be very, very big. But then we actually jump over to the present day, where we actually pick up with Karma and Danny Moonstar. Now, these are two characters that have been around for a very long time in Marvel Comics. Matter of fact, they were two of the first members of the New Mutants back in 1980s. But either way though, the reason why we pick up with these characters right now is because Karma is having nightmares, and the nightmare she is having is actually scaring her, but she wants answers to those nightmares. And so Danny Moonstar is trying to figure out what Karma is seeing. And so that is the moment we kind of find out when it comes to Karma's nightmares, she's basically remembering being in a battle in the X of Swords, the big battle, where of course the X-Men were fighting against the forces of Armeth in Otherworld. And what Karma says is, when she was fighting against a particular creature, that creature began to change faces into somebody who she doesn't know, but she feels like she does know. But the problem is, though, she has no idea what that person's name is. And so it freaks her out because she feels like she knows that person, but she is unable to actually get the chance to remember who that person is. And so now that will be Karma and Danny Moonstar's next mission, to figure out who was that guy that Karma saw in the big battle in X of Swords. Now, you do have Magic actually walk into the room, and that is the moment you have Danny Moonstar and Karma not wanting to tell Magic anything that is going on with Karma. And the reason why, because one, they want to keep it a secret, but two, they're afraid it could actually paranoid Magic in a way, or make Magic paranoid, sorry. But either way, as those two characters walk away, that is the moment you have Wolfbane come by and actually tell Magic, hey, listen, I'm going to tell you what's happening. Karma is having nightmares, and I hear her at night screaming, and of course it's scaring her, and so that is why she went over to Danny Moonstar to figure out what's happening in her nightmares and why she's having that nightmare over and over again. Now, right after that right there, that is the moment you have Warpath actually come in the room. Now, the reason why Warpath is here is because we're going to find out the New Mutants actually have a new assignment. And this new assignment is to kind of keep the younger mutants actually busy on the island. And we come to find out that right now, the New Mutants have basically signed up to kind of train the younger mutants on how to use their powers, but how to use their powers with someone else's powers to have that cool synergy combination. But either way, though, this is the new assignment for the New Mutants. Basically, them kind of growing up and becoming teachers of the new generation of X-Men characters, which honestly, we saw this before back in the early 2000s for some New Mutant characters, but it's kind of cool to see them do it again, because the New Mutants were the ones who basically came in and had to be trained even harder than the X-Men were at the time, because the New Mutants had no control over their powers at all. And they were causing a lot of problems for the X-Men and themselves over the years. And so now it's kind of cool to see the New Mutants beginning to teach the new age of mutants who could possibly lead Krakoa in a better direction down the road. And so it's kind of nice to see that. But of course, we have to move on to two big things happening. Now, this actually does lead into a question popping up for Magic to answer by one of her students. And what happened is one of the kids asked Magic about Madeline Pryor. Now remember, Madeline Pryor is the clone of Jean Grey, and technically she is a mutant, but she wasn't brought back to life when Krakoa came together. And so the question is, though, why wasn't she brought back to life? Now, she did reappear back in the first chapter of Hellions, but of course she died again in that storyline right there. And the question is, though, why wasn't she brought back? Now, Magic is able to kind of play it off by saying that Madeline Pryor, when she was around, she hurt both mutants and humans. And of course, she broke a law. There's a law on Krakoa that you are not allowed to kill any humans at all. And so with that law, Madeline Pryor already broke the law. She killed humans. And so that is why she's not being brought back to life. But of course, that moment right there could possibly mean that she could come back to life and actually cause problems for the X-Men down the road. But of course, after the meeting, you do have a small group of mutants walk away and saying that they're going to be late for something. And so that is the moment we actually do see that group of young mutants walk away into a forest. Now, of course, as they walk through this forest, they're going to meet up with Emil Farouk, the current host for the Shadow King. Now, when it comes to the Shadow King, like I said earlier, he is a multiversal being. He has a host in every single universe, but he used those hosts as a way to kind of feed off the dark energy or the darkness and people's souls in those universes. And so when it comes to the Shadow King, he used Emil Farouk as his host in the main Marvel universe, but he has Amal basically go around to kind of help the Shadow King feed off the darkness in people's souls. And right now, he is trying to do that with these kids. Now, once the darkness is taken from their souls, they're basically combined with the Shadow King. And so right now, it is the Shadow King just trying to feed off these kids' darkness in their souls, then finally take over their bodies to combine them with his. And this is where we are actually going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.